शौर्यम दक्षम युद्धेय, बलिदान परम धर्म, बलिदान परम धर्म, बलिदान परम धर्म. अर्थात, bravery is what makes a soldier capable for war, sacrifice being his ultimate duty. A true Indian soldier fights not because he hates what is in front of him, but because he loves what lies behind him. If you ever come across a man who says he's not afraid of dying, either he's lying or he's an Indian soldier. As we move forward after 76 years of independence, we must keep in mind that freedom is harder to protect than it is to earn. Today, on Soulsome with Sarika, we have one such special Indian soldier who's not just the pride of our nation, but also the protector of our freedom. An extremely gifted, brave, daredevil, a strict disciplinarian, and above all, an hardcore Indian who has served India for 42 long years and is still going strong. He has been the 40th Vice Army Chief and the 28th Chief of the Indian Army. He has also been the General Officer Commanding-in-Chief of the Eastern Command, General Officer Commanding-in-Chief of the Army Training Command, as well as the Chairman of the Chief of Staff Committee. None other than General Manoj Mukund Naravane. Someone who genuinely feels that the common man's faith in the Indian Army is its biggest strength. He was the one to take over as chief when the army was going through a lot of reform. One to have never underestimated the opposition, he has played crucial roles in the counter-insurgency operations in the Jammu and Kashmir and northeastern borders of India, among several others. A proud and extremely deserving recipient of the Param Vishishta Seva Medal, the Ati Vishishta Seva Medal, Sena Medal, and the Vishishta Seva Medal, General Naravane firmly believes that no army in the world wishes to go to war. But to ensure peace, you have to be prepared for war and hit where it hurts the most. आज हमारे देश में हर कोई आजाद है, मनमौजी है, क्योंकि सरहद पर खड़ा इनके जैसा एक फौजी है. With that, ladies and gentlemen, join me as I welcome none other than former Indian Chief General Manoj Mukund Naravane. So thank you so much for being on Soulsome with us today. It's indeed an honor to have Indian Army stalwarts like you. So thank you again.
Thank you, Sarika. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. So can we start with, among other things, what is the one thing that you love the most about being an army officer?
Well, I think the army was always in my blood. And if I joined the army, it is because because the spirit of adventure is very strong in the... And when I say army, army means Army, Navy, Air Force.
Yes, the defense
the armed
forces.
defense force,
Yes.
armed forces.
Yes.
So the spirit of adventure is very strong in the armed forces. And
Right.
I think that is what attracted me to
Towards
see
the army.
new places and do new things. A little knowing that I would be stuck in a 9-to-5 job more often
Correct.
than not.
Correct.
But what attracted
So
me...
you chose the 24 hours job.
Yeah. So that is what the
Right.
main attraction was. And the belief that in the army you don't have to study.
Correct.
But that also proved very wrong, because the amount of studies we have to do in the army to stay abreast professionally
Yes.
is tremendous.
So unlike all of us, yours is not just a place where you have to use your brains. You have to have the stamina as well. So physical fitness, mental fitness at all
also
levels.
counts. Yes, both count, and things change. So you have to... The rifle I started off with is no longer the rifle which is in service today.
True.
So you have to learn all the time.
You have to keep upgrading.
Upgrading your skills continuously.
And so if I may ask, in case there's anything that you really, really miss about being a civilian?
Well, if you count the 4 years of training that I've done in the NDA
Yes.
and IMA and 42 years in the army, so 46 years out of 62, I've been in uniform. So I really don't know what civilian life is all about, except school days or student days.
Correct.
So I think the army is the best place to be.
Wow.
And I don't think, of course, I'm a civilian now. I'm an ex-serviceman. I'm a civilian now. And but I don't really miss anything
So
except
once an army man,
always
an
an
army.
army man. Yeah, that's right.
The 6th Light Infantry Regiment was your unit in military service, right? किस चक्की का आटा खिलाते हैं इस रेजिमेंट में? Considering they've managed to give us not one, not two, but 3 army chiefs to the nation. What is so special about the 6th Light Infantry?
मेरे ख्याल से सारे यूनिटें जो है,
हाँ.
जितने भी आर्मी में यूनिट हैं, सभी अच्छे यूनिट हैं, और जितने रेजिमेंट हैं वो भी सभी अच्छे रेजिमेंट. तो ऐसे हम
So ट्रेनिंग में कुछ अलग नहीं है.
हम ऐसे कह नहीं सकते कि जो 6th लाइट इन्फेंट्री में जाएगा वही ऊपर आगे आगे बढ़ेगा.
But it's a beautiful coincidence.
हाँ, ये इत्तेफाक की बात है.
Right.
ये ज़रूरी नहीं हो सकता कि एंदा किसी और रेजिमेंट के हों.
Correct.
जैसे अभी के जो चीफ है वो इंजीनियर्स के हैं. इससे पहले कभी इंजीनियर के चीफ नहीं रहे हैं.
Oh.
तो हमेशा कुछ ना कुछ बदलाव होता रहता है, और एक ये कोइंसिडेंस की बात है
अच्छा.
कि हम 3 चीफ्स जो है 6th लाइट इन्फेंट्री से बने. मैटर ऑफ लक.
So can you tell us about the exact values that it takes to become an army officer? Because you must have inculcated them not only at home, but your school Nyan Prabodhini and your NDA training academy as well. All those values that took you to the topmost position of the Indian Army, I'm sure they are special.
What we are at any point of time
Yes.
is the sum total of our experiences.
Very true.
Continuous. So
Yes.
it's not that it stops. Even today I will learn something. There'll be a new experience being in a recording studio. So
Yes.
every time you learn.
Yes.
So as you go through life, you have to keep your eyes and ears open. You'll have good experiences, you'll have bad experiences. You should learn from both, in fact.
Yes, true.
And that is how you will keep evolving and growing. In fact, our former president, late Abdul Kalam, had said that you should not read success stories. You will only get a message.
True.
You should read failure stories, because you will get lessons to succeed.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
so I think what is important is to gain from each and every experience, discard the bad, imbibe the good, and keep evolving as you go along.
Yes.
And if you keep evolving in whatever branch you may be, not only in the army, it can be in civil services, it can be in business.
True.
You have to evolve, you have to
just make sure you're better than what
diversify,
you want.
and
Correct.
keep growing year on year. And if you do that, then wherever you might be, you're sure to succeed and go up the ladder.
Absolutely. Very well said, sir. Very well said. So your father retired as an Air Force officer, the wing commander. So do you think he played a pivotal role in your career decision?
Yes, my father was in the Air Force. That's absolutely right. But what very few people know, although I've spoken about it before,
yes,
that he was originally an army cadet.
Okay.
And he was in the Indian Military Academy at Dehradun.
Okay.
Unfortunately, while during training, he broke his knee.
Oh.
And in those days, that was cause for withdrawal. There was
from the army.
From the training.
Is it?
So he was withdrawn from the military academy itself. So, but heart of hearts, he was an army man.
Correct.
And after he got withdrawn, then he came out, finished his graduation, then joined the Air Force. But he was always heart of hearts an army man.
And that's why...
And I think secretly he was happy I joined the army and not the Air Force.
Really? So defense is in your genes and is in your blood.
It's sort of.
Yes.
My uncle was also in the army. His son...
I didn't know this.
His son was... That's my cousin. Was in the army.
Oh.
Another cousin of mine also retired at a equally high position. General Pankaj Joshi from the mechanized infantry.
Oh.
My uncle was Major General Anant Naravane from the artillery.
Oh, so many of this we didn't know.
Yeah, so that's why that it was more army actually.
Correct.
Not so much. But
so that's why you are where you are.
Yeah.
Yours is a very unique profession. As in, you all have no rule book that you can follow. Every step of the way, there is a new challenge and you have to find a new solution. Unlike all of us, we have a problem, we can go back to our books, refer to them. So what I'm trying to get at is, when you took over as chief of the Indian Army, on the 1st of January 2020, and the COVID pandemic struck right after. So, when every other system in the world was practically collapsing, how did you hold our nation together?
Yes, it is unfortunate, that the COVID pandemic struck.
Yes.
It is also unfortunate from my personal point of view that I took over in January and COVID started mid-Feb onwards. So my entire tenure actually went in under the COVID overhang.
True.
And I could not really do as much
That you wanted.
that I wanted to or would have been able to do in a 2.5 year period because of this restrictions on account of COVID. But that started by about in Jan, the indications were coming.
Yes.
That something is not quite
Yes.
quite correct. And by mid-February itself, in the army, we had started passing instructions to take precautions.
Right.
Including curtailing of leave, reduced attendance in offices. We took many of these actions at least, if not a month, definitely about 2 weeks before the rest of the nation. Because we were monitoring the news globally. And we
also
felt
handling all this was so new for any chief.
But we had the advantage that, we are in military cantonments. So we are in secure areas and it's more easy to enforce rules and regulations or discipline as compared to an open population. So we had that advantage.
Yes. But apart from that, did you also have to cater to the civilians?
Yes, we had to. So as we went along, we, of course, instituted these measures for ourselves. But when I started this in the army, and we called it Op Namaste.
Yes.
If you recollect, that time everyone used to say Namaste, that stopped shaking hands.
Yes, so that's why it was called
So we
Operation
called it
Namaste.
Op Namaste. So in the army, we said that we will take these precautionary measures right from the beginning.
Right.
And at that point of time, when I instituted these measures, what was there in the back of my mind was that if this spreads to the civilian population, and civilian population is not able to function, the civil society and the other organs of the government are not able to function, whether it is railways or whatever, there should be somebody who is safe.
True.
So when I was protecting my army, it was not
only for the army.
It was not for the army. I was not protecting out of sense of fear of what would happen to us.
Correct.
But I was protecting the army so that we could be of service to the nation.
Yes.
When the need
so
arose.
When everything else falls,
that
Indian
at least somebody should be safe and secure. So that was
so that was your intention.
My intent when I started this whole thing. As it so happened, it proved to be in good stead.
Absolutely.
And yes, definitely, right from the time the first batch of students were evacuated from China, I think, who came to the army camp at Manesar.
Yes.
We looked after them. We opened quarantine camps in various places, Jodhpur, Jaipur, where hundreds of people used to come.
So the situation was handled
it was
very
quite
well.
bad. And what is very creditable is that in that kind of uncertainty, in that kind of period where there were no vaccines, yet all the army people looked after these camps at great risk to themselves.
So
and I must make
even there, civilians came first.
The civilians came first. And I must go on record and credit our doctors and our nursing staff and the paramedical staff who were day in and day out treating COVID patients with no regard to themselves.
Absolutely.
And there are many doctors, and when I say doctors, I mean all the medical. There are many of them who got COVID themselves, recovered, and then went back to treat patients.
Isn't that amazing?
That is amazing,
Yes.
So it's and we made it a point to recognize their services. And I'd even spoken to the Raksha Mantri, and I got the number of awards. There is a quota.
Correct.
How many awards you can give in a year.
Okay.
So in that particular year, 2021, I got a special quota released so that we could give more awards to the medical personnel.
But absolutely deserving, isn't it?
So they really got their
So I guess COVID told the world the true essence of being an Indian.
Yeah.
Whether it's army, whether it's the civilian.
And we did come to help of our population. We even had camps en route when the migrants were going back to give them food. Our Army Wives Welfare Association, when
Yes.
everyone had closed down, were making food packets and distributing it.
Wow.
In various places in
Right.
Delhi and wherever needed, wherever our offices are there.
Okay.
Which are major, bigger military stations,
Correct.
not the smaller ones.
Correct.
So the Army Wives Welfare Association also pitched in. So it was a whole effort.
It was a team effort.
Team effort from the complete army, the spouses, the children. In fact, in one of the places, the army wives and the children, because schools were closed.
Correct.
So the army wives and children were even teaching the civilian kids and the
not many people know of all of this.
Children of the the staff and
so that they don't miss out on the important years. Yeah. Wow, that is really, really nice to know. Indian Army fights to win, and we have always won with a knockout. Any particular knockout or encounter which you remember in your career, जिससे आज भी आपके रोंगटे खड़े हों?
In a long career of 42 years, there are bound to be a lot of incidents. But rather than talk of any particular incident, what I would like to say is that war and conflict is not romantic.
Absolutely not.
It is not what you see in movies, all the firing going on here and there. It looks good.
Only on screen.
On screen, but there is not a difference between real life and real life.
Absolutely.
And therefore, it should be used as a last resort, violence.
Correct.
And our effort should always be to try and solve things through dialogue, through discussion, and not resort to violence if possible.
Yes.
It has to be
has
as a last
there been
resort.
Any incident where you were so close to death that even today you shudder with the thought of it?
These are some things we'd rather not talk about. Everyone who's in operation always thinks that
has to go through this.
Everyone goes through these things, and everyone thinks he was the man.
Right.
Who did everything.
So it's like a routine for the defense forces.
We go through it so many times.
Right. So which one would you define as the proudest moment in the history of Indian Army?
Proudest moment, I will say, is definitely the Bangladesh War of Liberation. That is the one we fought in 1971.
Yes.
It was a true reflection of the might of the armed forces, the synergy between the three services, Army, Navy, Air Force.
Yes.
And a feat of arms of that kind had not been witnessed since the Second World War.
Oh, so it was such a
big operation after 45, 71.
Yes.
So almost 30 years, the number of troops, and to have liberated an entire nation in a matter of 14 days, it itself is something which has never happened or been replicated ever since. So that is definitely our finest hour.
Even listening to it gives us goosebumps.
I was, of course, only 11 years old then.
Really? Yes. But
I still...
You have witnessed it.
Yes, but I still remember my father was in Delhi.
Yes.
Posted in the air headquarters, and he had to go for doing his night shift. And we had to paper over all the windows with black paper.
Correct. Yes, we've heard some of it from our parents.
Curfew used to be imposed.
Blackouts
used to be enforced.
Yes.
And as children, even as 11-year-old, we used to go knocking on everybody's door. Light band karo, light band karo.
Yes.
So it was
for
us, it was all excitement. We didn't realize now the gravitas of the whole occasion.
Probably after you joined the army,
we
you must
would have realized. But for us at that time, it was all fun.
Actually. I would say thank you again to our defense services that after we were born, we are lucky we've not witnessed anything like this.
We did have the Kargil War.
Right.
That was a limited conflict, but that had its own share of casualties.
Absolutely.
So it's wars will keep happening.
Unfortunately. So you were the commanding officer of the prestigious 2nd Rashtriya Rifles. And if I am correct, they have been capable of curbing terrorist attacks for so long. So, what is the radical change in the approach of the Indian Army that has happened in the past few years that Pakistan ki bolti band ho gayi hai?
See, I don't know whether 2RR is prestigious or not. I would like to hope so.
Yes.
Not because I've
It's
commanded
your,
2RR,
yes,
but that
yes,
they continue doing a good job.
yes.
The Rashtra Rifles was started in 1990s. It was the brainchild of the then chief. Because in counterinsurgency operations, what is required is a sense of continuity in the population.
Absolutely.
Till then, army units would rotate quite fast. So in a 2-year cycle or 2.5-year cycle. So every time a new unit comes, they have to start afresh.
Yes.
So the idea was to have this force dedicated for counterinsurgency operations.
I see.
Called the Rashtra Rifles.
Yes.
And the first 2, 3 battalions, 4 battalions were raised in the 90s. 2RR was one of the first to get raised on 1st October 1990. And the idea was that men would turn over at a fixed interval, but the battalion would be the same.
Okay. Okay.
So that as far as the local population is concerned, the battalion has not moved out.
So they are aware.
So
whatever
they're aware,
experience
yes,
they've collected,
they are aware of it, and it gets passed on. Because
Correct.
otherwise, when whole units used to change,
it's a little difficult to get accustomed.
No matter how much you hand over,
Mhm.
you can't hand over nuances and
Yes.
each and every person, your relations with that.
Even knowing the civilians there.
But in this manner, because about 1/3 of the unit gets turned over every year.
Yes.
But 2/3 is more or less the same.
Yes. So that helped the Rashtriya Rifles.
That helped because then we could establish a rapport with the civilian population.
And counter the enemy at the same time.
Enemy. So in fact, some of the friends I made as a colonel are still my friends now.
So that close, because you were...
We have become that close.
Yes. You were with each other for a longer time.
And there is a very amusing incident I think I should narrate. Used to be in the army camp at the HMT factory. We had actually taken over their premises.
Okay.
And opposite that was a colony called Rose Avenue, where Mr. Majid Bhatt Sr., his sons Irfan and daughter-in-law, and they had a small boy called Hanan.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, my wife and kids used to also come. Then we used to go over to their place to for dinner and generally.
Correct.
So one day, much later, my daughter was grown up and in college. She was talking to somebody in some party, and she said, "I'm from Srinagar." So she said, "Where?" You said, "You'll not know, the HMT factory." I said, "No, I know HMT factory." I said, "But where in HMT factory?" He said, "No, you'll not know Rose Avenue." I said, "No, I know Rose Avenue." He was so astounded that here is a person in Delhi who knows Rose Avenue in Srinagar.
Yes.
So that is the way we have been able to build up the rapport.
Right.
And that is how this whole plan to destabilize J&K has failed, because of the rapport we have built it. The local population feels safe and secure, and that we are there for them.
Right.
That is what has changed actually.
So all that we see in our movies is not totally true. Army is there with the civilians for the civilians.
Definitely. We are an army of the people for the people.
Absolutely.
They are our countrymen.
Yes, sir.
Why should we harm them?
So apart from heading teams on the Indian soil, there are a lot of foreign delegation teams that you've held. So can you tell us a little bit about your experience on the foreign shores? For example, we've heard about the operations in Myanmar and Sri Lanka. In case you can shed a little light on that.
Well, yes, military diplomacy also plays a very important part in a whole of nation effort to develop our comprehensive national power.
Yes.
And it is not only military delegations which are headed at senior levels of chief or vice chief, but we are interacting with many armies all over the world at different levels.
Correct.
We even individuals go for courses to each other's countries.
Oh, that is nice.
We have exercises starting from platoon level to battalion level. You have Air Force going now for an exercise
Okay.
to France.
Right.
So, the Malabar series of exercises which the Navy conducts, which is a multinational naval exercise where ships from many navies come to participate.
Oh.
So this is a very major
So
component.
you learn from each other.
Yes, so we learn from each other. We develop interoperability in case of emergencies,
Yes.
especially when it comes to, like when the tsunami happened in 2006.
Right.
If the navies of the world could operate together, it was because they were operating
Simultaneously on earlier
and
levels.
exercising on earlier
Oh, that
occasions.
helped a lot
So
then.
then it helps a lot
Yes.
in these kind of activities. HADR.
Isn't that a wonderful initiative?
Yeah, so
Goodness.
humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, HADR.
Yes.
So it
Yes.
helps in, and it builds confidence, and everyone has an area of expertise.
Correct.
So you're not the best in everything.
Right.
So when you exercise with other armies and talk to them, you learn from them also.
True.
And then those best practices are exchanged,
Yeah.
and then both become better. So
Absolutely.
that is the whole ethos behind having these exercises and
Right.
interactions.
So, apart from defending their respective nations, army also carries out operations for civilians in case of crisis. So, which one will you suggest as the most important or the memorable or the most challenging operation that any army carried out for civilians?
I just mentioned HADR,
It's
so
that.
it comes as part of that, and
Okay.
I think not a year goes by where we are not involved in some kind of relief effort
Yes.
or the other,
Right.
whether it is earthquake
Yes.
or floods or even
Even the Uttarakhand.
Uttarakhand or floods in Maharashtra,
Yes.
Kerala,
Yes.
and even drought. It is not only floods and all. There have
Okay.
been occasions where we have even supplied water
To the drought areas.
drought-stricken areas because we
Okay.
have our water tankers and things like that.
Correct.
And we are. And what is important to know is that because of our deployment
Yes.
and in far-flung areas, we are the closest to the disaster, and therefore more often than not, we are the first responders.
Yes.
Although in recent years the NDRF has been created,
Okay.
but in spite of that, as I said,
Army is the
because
first to be
we
there.
are the closest whenever
Yes.
something happens.
Yes.
So that is
Absolutely.
why the people look up to us,
Definitely.
and when they see that we have arrived, they know that now
We are
things
safe.
are safe, and now things will improve.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's the most reassuring
And
sentiment.
I don't know whether you recollect when there were floods in Maharashtra a couple of years ago.
Yes.
There is a TV bite
Yes.
where an old lady is touching the feet of that army man
person. Yes.
and saying, ki Bhagwan Disle,
Right, sir. Right, sir.
So that is how
Dev
we are
Disla.
perceived. Dev
Yeah.
Disla.
It's so nice to hear a little bit of Marathi from you
नाही
as
सर
well.
आय फॉरगेट व्हॉट एक्झॅक्टली
Exactly.
शी से पण असंच काहीतरी म्हटलं होतं
Correct.
की एकदा बघितलं की असं वाटलं की
देव असल्यासारखं
देव
वाटलं.
असल्यासारखं वाटलं.
So we as civilians sometimes tend to forget the price of a good night's sleep, the price that our army pays for us every minute of their lives. Incidents like Hai from Galwan are extremely disturbing for all of us, including you and me. What do you think can we do to sensitize our civilians a little bit so that they understand the sacrifices a soldier makes for the nation? What can be done?
I think we always have had and will continue to have the support of our population.
Yes.
They have always risen to the occasion.
Yes.
Uh, Whenever the crisis has been on us, whether in 71 war
Yes.
or during Kargil. So in 71 war, for example, whenever a train full of soldiers used to go from place to place, at every station they were received with hot food, water.
So you have better, more positive experiences than the
Yes,
negative
so
ones.
definitely the love and affection that our countrymen have for the armed forces is tremendous.
So let's ignore the negative.
Yes, so we should not look at.
Right.
uh,
Right.
I would say the glass is 9/10 full.
Wow.
Not even
That's
half.
a nice way
half
of
half.
looking
It's
at it.
9/10 full. So
So it's okay.
there will always be
1/10 is
one odd
always.
character who
Yes, sir.
goes negative. So, but by and large, as I said,
We are with the army as much as the army is with us.
yes, definitely.
Yes. So globally, uh, how are we perceived as a nation when it comes to our relations with the neighbors? What I mean to say is, in the terms of the respect that our nation commands, How are we perceived when you go on a global platform?
No, definitely the image of India has risen in recent years,
Yes.
mainly because of the progress we have made in the economic sphere. We have risen from eighth in the world GDP to fifth place now.
Wow.
In a matter of 10 odd years. And another 5 years or so, we'll be at number 3.
That is so wonderful.
We'll be only behind US and China.
And
We-
soon we'll take them over, if I may say so.
That
Let's see.
things will
Yes,
keep
yes,
happening, but
yes.
we have overtaken Britain, France.
Yes.
We are at the moment only behind Japan and I think Germany at fifth place. So that is how we are going forward.
That's
So
progress for sure.
that is progress.
Yes.
And at the end of that, economic clout makes a difference.
Yes.
And so we are seen as somebody on the world stage who have economic clout, but more than that, we are seen as a dependable partner
Yes.
and not somebody who will, as they say, ditch you
Yes.
when the going gets
Yes.
tough. So
Aren't we also looked up as a nation who will not be the first one to provoke, but if the time comes,
absolutely.
we
So
will not
in fact,
spare anyone.
our foreign policy is based on a few pillars.
Yes.
And the first pillar of that is that we have no extraterritorial ambitions. That we are not going to go and.
Yes. Yes.
The other is that we don't seek to impose our will on anyone else.
So important.
It's not my way or the highway.
Correct.
As other people say,
Yes,
that
yes.
either you're with us or you're against
Yes.
us. So we are not that way.
Yes.
And we believe in having a strategic autonomy. That we will do what we feel is best for
Yes.
our people and our country. And flowing out from this is that we will not allow any unilateral changes to the status quo. Which means trying to
Yes,
take
got
something
it.
by force.
Got it.
So you
We've
have
never been like that.
So we've never been like that.
Yes.
So that is how, and because of this,
We have the respect.
we have
that
the
we-
respect we command
Yes.
all over the world, and we are seen as a dependable partner. And
Yes.
definitely in the Indian Ocean region, if you see all our neighbors and the condition that they are in,
Mhm.
I would say that India is a pillar of stability in an unstable neighborhood.
That is such an important statement. Yes, it is an unstable neighborhood, and it's getting worse by the day when it comes to our neighbors. But we've managed to stand
Yes.
tall and high.
Correct.
Thank you. That is really, really nice to know. War does not happen overnight. When a nation starts preparing for war, or for that matter, when we start preparing for war, what are the signs or the symptoms, you can say, that we can come to know that this particular nation is on the brink of war? For example, the recent Russia versus Ukraine. How did we judge that, all right, they are on the verge of war?
Yes, Sarika, you're right that wars don't happen overnight. And there are many organs of the state. You have your diplomats
Yes.
the world over. You have your research and analysis wing who are tasked with external intelligence.
Yes.
You have your IB and other things who are tasked with internal intelligence.
Yes.
So everyone is working together.
Yes.
And wars don't start overnight. There are a lot of preparations that have to be made before you can go to war. If you have seen many podcasts yesterday
Yes.
about Saichin,
Oh, yes.
in that you would have heard that it was the RNAW who tipped us off
Yes.
that Pakistan is buying snow clothing in large numbers
What for?
and from some foreign person.
Yes.
So that person in that foreign country got this information and sent it back, and that
Is a tip for us.
was the tip.
Yes.
And from that, then we analyzed that what could it be for,
Absolutely.
and then took the countermeasures.
Right.
So that was just a small operation. So if a
Yes.
country has to go for war, there'll be many such indications.
True.
Right from stocking up on your oil, your food,
Yes.
which will happen 6 to 8 months in advance.
Yes.
And as you come closer to a war breaking out,
So especially when we have to keep an eye on
keep
our
an
enemy.
So these are
That's
the
how.
things which are being looked at
Yeah.
continuously.
It's a never-ending
Never
job for you
ending job
people.
for years. So that is how it unfolds.
That is how we come to know.
And then you'll come to know how serious somebody is
Yes.
about going to war,
And
or,
what
or
exactly is their plan?
what is the plan, and is it just for show, दिखावे के लिए,
हाँ.
or they're serious,
Or are they misleading us?
or they're misleading. So, you may mobilize, but if you have mobilized but not, say, activated your hospital,
Then
that
we
means
know.
you're not serious, because if you really think
Yes.
you're going to
You
go
can
to
fool us
war
like that.
like that, but you will get your hospitals also ready for receiving casualties.
Never mind. So let them
So
play.
yeah, so small
Yes.
pieces of the jigsaw are also important.
Yes, very important. Sir, about our intelligence agencies, since you just mentioned RAW, all that we know about them, like common man like me, knows about them only through our Bollywood movies. Since they work so anonymously, and since you are at the heart of all of it, can you tell us a little bit more about how our intelligence agencies function?
The best spy is the one you don't know about.
Correct.
And I think if we don't know about them, they're doing a terrific job.
Yes, sir. We
So,
can't even openly give credit to them. All that we know is that we are so proud of them,
so I
Even
think
when
that's why I said. So I think if we don't know, that
that's the
means
best thing.
that's the best thing.
Right.
So that means they're doing their job properly.
Absolutely.
And
In fact,
it's R&AW,
yes.
Research and Analysis Wing.
Okay.
They don't like to be called RAW.
Is it? Again, we learned it from a Bollywood movie that it's called RAW.
RAW. Then
It's R&AW.
R&AW. Yeah.
Okay.
Research and Analysis Wing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm sure ours is one of the best.
Yeah,
Considering
yes,
the
yes. So since we have not been taken by surprise
yes.
for so many years, means they're doing their job.
Yes. No nation has ever benefited from war. Why is it so difficult for Pakistan or China to understand a simple thing that concentrating on their own nation's development will be far more fruitful than encroaching upon what belongs to us? Why is it so difficult?
Well, I think you'll have to ask them. But the sooner they see
Yes.
this logic, and I think you all will be surprised to know that in the late 70s, 80s,
Yes.
Pakistan's GDP was marginally higher than India's,
That's shocking.
about 0.1 or
Yes.
0.2 more than India's.
From there,
And there, 40 years later,
Where
where
are
have we reached and where are they?
absolutely.
So the sooner they shun this path of unnecessarily trying to foment trouble
yes.
and concentrate on their own development, it'll be better for them.
Yeah, because today their status of education, their
Ev- ev-
status of
everything,
poverty is miserable.
food, electricity, water, all the basic necessities, roti, kapda, makan,
And even safety.
safety. So the sooner they realize that
Yeah.
the strategy of theirs is not working, and that rather be friends than enemies, and keep going backwards. Nothing is happening to us. We are, in spite of this, we are
progressing.
We are progressing
On all fronts,
on
isn't
all
it?
fronts. As I said, from being marginally behind Pakistan, now we're number 5. So where have we gone? And we have gone up 10 spaces, they've gone down 20 spaces.
Absolutely.
So they should realize that it doesn't.
So, but in spite
doesn't
of
work.
in spite of being our cutter enemy, if I may say, it is really large-hearted for a person like you to still say that "Aa jao, be friends with us," rather than being our enemy. So, even in your mindset, you are still ready to accommodate them. That is really, really large-hearted.
I think that is because that is our national policy. We have never sought enmity with everyone.
Absolutely.
We believe that the world is one family.
The sooner all of us realize this,
that, the better.
Even the army then can concentrate on more constructive things.
Yeah.
No? So, from your father's generation till yours, I'm sure you've seen a lot of shift in the kind of warfare that is being used. Today, we are talking about nuclear weapons and biological warfare, and God knows what else is to come. In all these circumstances, are we as mankind really benefiting from this advancement? Did we really need biological warfare? Aren't we better off without nuclear weapons?
You see, when things are developed or invented, they're not invented for use as weapons.
Yes.
The development it's a development.
Yes.
And how you use it is a different matter.
Correct.
When they started, say, nuclear research,
Yes.
it was for peaceful purposes, to see if that energy can be harnessed And that's why you have nuclear reactors,
Yes.
which are giving you electricity. Research was not to make a bomb.
Correct.
So anything that you develop will always have myriad uses.
So the byproduct of that was a nuclear weapon.
Is a nuclear weapon.
Yes.
But just because it can lead to misuse, that doesn't mean we stop inventing.
Right.
Or we stop research.
And also, it is our way of telling the world that if time comes, we are ready.
No,
Isn't it?
yeah, we are ready. So let's take an aircraft for example.
Okay.
Aircraft was only invented because man wanted to fly.
Yes.
He didn't think we are going to make jet aircraft which will go and bomb cities out of existence.
Correct.
That was not the idea of to develop powered,
Absolutely
heavier than air flight.
No.
So it was for a different reason. How you adapt and use it in
Again, we will never be the first ones.
You will never know how it will be used.
Yes.
So everything has
the plus and the minus.
A dual use.
Correct.
So we should try to use it for the betterment of mankind rather than for destructive purposes.
So everywhere, that is our sentiment.
Yeah.
Ours is the largest voluntary army, if I may say so. And also, because I just checked up on Google, I can also say that ours is the 4th army in the top 10 army in the world. How is an Indian soldier different? How does he stand apart from the rest of them? What do you think is the essence of an Indian soldier?
I think we have very strong, traditions which are rooted in our centuries-old civilization and history.
Yes.
And all our soldiers, and again, soldiers, sailors, airmen,
right.
We come from a very hardy stock.
Yes.
And who are stoic, who are willing to face hardships, and especially willing to face hardships when they know their officers are with them, also facing their hardships side by side.
Yes.
And I think that stoicism and that ability to withstand whatever is thrown at them is what sets us apart.
Absolutely.
From the others. And we have also been through a lot, as have armies all over the world. But in the Indian Army, we don't hear anything like post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD.
We don't have the time.
I don't think.
We are Iron Men.
So I'm sure some people would be affected. I'm not trying to dismiss it out of hand.
Yes.
But it is not such a big problem because we used to, as I said, coming from a hardy background, we're used to hardships.
Yes.
So since we have grown through those hardships, we are able to face the hardships also that much better without it actually causing any stress of that sort.
So on that note, as a mother, as a common man, as a civilian, don't you think it is very important for our youth, each one of them, should be sent for some kind of training into the army? So once they see those kind of hardships, I guess stress and, the kind of post-traumatic stress disorders that we have in our generations today will be wiped out once they see what the army is all about. Don't you think all of us, maybe 6 months of our entire life, we should serve the army in some way or the other? Will that help?
On stress, stress is not always a bad thing. Little bit of stress is good also because it helps you function.
Yes.
But on stress, I just remembered, Kapil Dev on one of the programs, he was saying that, आजकल बहुत स्ट्रेस के बारे में सुनते हैं कि IPL में स्ट्रेस है, टेस्ट मैच में स्ट्रेस है. कहते स्ट्रेस है तो मत खेलो.
Simple as that.
Who asked you to come in the first place?
Correct.
Yeah? So, as I said, stress is there. But to answer your question, while some form of little military service or otherwise would be good, but before you can place somebody into a unit, he will also require some training. So you can't say 6 months and 6 months has gone in training.
Yes.
But that is why we have this new scheme, the Agniveer scheme, which is they will, instead of being recruited permanently, everyone will now join the army for a period of 4 years.
It's wonderful.
Which would be 6 months training, three and a half years that he will serve.
Okay.
At the end of 4 years, up to 25% would be retained, and 75% will go back to society.
Okay.
So this is the manner, precisely what you're trying to say.
Correct.
That so many more people will go through this churn
And then
and
decide.
will go back into civil society as trained and disciplined manpower.
Correct.
So if we talk about a youth bulge,
Yes.
and that's an advantage, a demographic bulge.
Yes.
So that youth bulge is an advantage only if it is a disciplined youth
Very true. Very
and
true.
not who are engaging in antisocial activities or stone throwing or those kind of things.
Yes.
So this is the way we are looking at that more and more people would be available to civil society.
I would say army is the best education institute for anyone coming from any background, any profession.
And
This will really help
and it
a
is
lot.
not only this, but
Yes.
over the last 2.5 years, the number of NCC vacancies have been increased from 1 lakh to 2 lakh,
Oh, that's double.
doubled all over the country. So those many more school children, you don't have to join the army.
Correct.
Those
But
many
at least
through the medium of the NCC would also have learnt the rudimentary, drill,
Yes.
PT,
Yes.
how to wear a uniform, things
Yes.
like that.
Even the basic discipline
Discipline, yeah.
and fitness will be taken care of.
Similarly, the number of Sainik schools have been doubled.
Oh,
Another set of people would also go through the same military kind of training, and a new system has been introduced with civilian partnerships. You can have civilian schools also being Sainik schools.
that's wonderful.
And even for NCC, you can have government schools also, and
Who are-
private schools also can, on a self-financing basis, also join NCC.
Oh,
So, I mean, they bear the costs. So the government has done a lot many things to try to get more and more youth
involved into the.
in to get some kind of a military training or background,
Yes.
so that we have a
So-
disciplined youth to.
Absolutely. So it is absolutely correct if I say that we have set the stage for a glorious future, in
Yes.
all ways.
So these are that our youth are our future. Yes.
Exactly.
So we have to invest in them. Only then will they be
The returns will
the
come.
return will come and be
Yes.
an advantage 5-10 years from now.
I'm sure. I'm sure. So, loss of every single soldier affects the morale of the remaining soldier as well as the commanding officer, especially when it's a very crucial moment and you have to move on because victory is inevitable. You have to win. How do you then boost the morale of your soldiers, the remaining ones, and go ahead and fight?
Well, yes, sir. Loss of every individual, every soldier, whether through accident or in battle, uh, does hit you hard.
Yes.
Every man is important, not only for the unit, but every person has a mother, father, wife, children. So we are able to empathize and understand the pain which is going to happen after that.
Yes.
It is not just the organization, but in the back end also a lot
Absolutely.
of the whole family has to adjust to that grievous loss. It's a big thing.
Yes.
When you're in an operation, then mission accomplishment is everything.
That's the first priority.
That's the first priority. And when you go into an operation, you know that everybody might not come back. That's very much a given.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I mean, you're
but-
saying it as though
So-
it's.
Yeah,
even
but-
imagining while you were saying it, even for me, imagining it was so difficult.
And
But the ease with which you said it,
yeah, so that's the price we pay for liberty.
yes,
And as you mentioned in your introduction, that is, it's freedom is easy to get but difficult to retain.
yes, sir.
And more than that, it is the person who is giving the order.
Okay.
The weight is on him,
Oh my God.
not
Yeah.
the person who's executing it. Of course, is there, but the person who actually gives
It's
the
more
order,
responsible.
the weight is on his shoulders because he knows that it is because of his order that something is going to
Happen.
unfold
Yes.
with positive or negative consequences. So that is the burden
It's a huge
the
responsibility.
officers have to bear. And
So
there
as your rank,
increases,
you go higher.
that burden only increases.
Yes.
And there have been instances in the past, especially during long wars, where people have refused promotions because they don't want to take that additional weight
Burden.
of that responsibility of burden. They'd rather be the rank and file who's only doing the fighting, but not be the one who's sending the people to
That
do
is
the
so
fighting.
unheard of. Like for us, it's very new.
So many times people have even, as I say, refused promotions because they don't want that cross to bear.
And it is too much to bear.
Yeah.
From a defensive mode to a totally offensive mode of action has been our recent past experience. अब हम घर में घुस के मारते हैं. So I was trying to come to surgical strikes. What I want you to tell the nation is, how ready are we, God forbid if it comes to that, to wipe out the enemy clean from the global map?
No, a country always is ready to face whatever challenges are thrown up.
Yes.
And readiness doesn't happen overnight.
True.
So you have to build up your capabilities over a prolonged period of time. And to be able to do that, you also have to keep monitoring what is the global situation.
Oh, yes.
And what are the threats and challenges that you face today? What is the challenges likely to be tomorrow, 5 years from now? What are the new weapon systems that may come in? What are the countermeasures to those weapon systems?
Oh, yes.
For example, drones is a recent phenomena.
Yes.
If you have drones, you have to have now counter drone systems also. So these things keep evolving all the time.
Yes.
And ultimately, whatever you do is to have victory in war.
Absolutely.
So that is always the bottom line. And as they say, there are no runners up in war. You have to win.
Yes, you have
and
to.
That's the bottom line.
And we are so used to winning.
Yeah.
I am being a little boisterous, but I'm so proud of the fact that Indian Army is equal to victory. On a lighter note, in your entire army tenure, which is the most satisfying part or the medal which is closest to your heart?
I think the most satisfying tenure, not only for me, but for everyone, would be when he gets the opportunity to command his battalion.
Okay.
Especially if you get the opportunity to command the battalion you were commissioned in, which you joined as a young officer. And 15, 17 years later, when you get to command that same battalion, it's like becoming the head of the family.
Yes.
In my case, of course, I was commissioned into the 7th Battalion, the Sikh Light Infantry, but I went to command 2RR.
Yes.
So, command of 2RR is, of course, I would say the best command I've had. I was fortunate that 2RR, each RR battalion comprises of men drawn from various regiments.
I see.
So, 2RR is drawn from Sikh Light Infantry.
Okay.
And each RR has a major component and a minor component.
Okay.
So that other minor component was of Bombay Sappers.
Okay.
And Bombay Sappers is also half the same stock as Sikh Halai. And of course, are Maharashtrians.
Yes.
So for me, it was like going home only.
Correct.
सगळेच माझ्या ओळखीचे होते.
Correct.
माझे रेजिमेंट सिख हलायचे सुद्धा आणि बॉम्बे सॅपर्सचे सुद्धा.
So it was like coming home.
Coming home, and I could actually take that team along.
And your medal, the most special one
And
to you?
the medal is also for the same battalion command, the Sena medal.
Okay. Yes.
So the battalion did a good job. And if you get a medal, it is not a medal for your individual achievement.
It's for the entire unit.
You have been recognized for your unit's achievements.
Correct.
Obviously, if there are RR battalion has almost 1,200 people.
Yes.
You can't give 1,200 medals.
You have to have one person who will receive it.
So if the commanding officer has got the medal, it is a recognition of the whole unit's effort.
Absolutely.
That you have been recognized. So the medal is actually dedicated to all the men of that battalion.
All right. Each one of us in our life comes across a story or a person who transforms our life completely. Stalwarts like you have the power to inspire millions of youth, of civilians, of common men like us. Do you have any special message today on Soulsome to give to our nation?
I think we are having this program today, on 14th,
Yes.
which is Vaisakhi, as also Ambedkar Jayanti.
Absolutely.
And I think if there is a common message through both of these, it is about equality and inclusion. I think that is the message I would like to give.
Absolutely.
And that if we have to progress as a nation and really take a rightful place in the world, then if these two aspects are taken care of, equality, including gender equality, whatever,
Yes.
and inclusiveness, that we
Yes.
have to, as we were just talking about
Yes.
teams,
Yes.
so we have to include everyone in the team.
Correct.
And if we do these two, I think nobody can stop us from
Wow.
going anywhere in the world.
Yes.
So
Definitely.
that would be my message to everyone.
So Soulsome concludes with one common question, and that is one, maybe two lessons that life taught you and that you would like to share with our viewers.
As I think I will only repeat what I had said a little
Right.
earlier, that
Yes.
we are a sum total of all our experiences.
Yes. Yeah.
And if you have to keep growing, and if you do that and learn from those experiences and adapt to changing circumstances, if you're able to do that, then I think you will always succeed in whatever is your chosen profession.
Yes.
And the profession you choose should be what you want to do. Not because your father wants you
Yes,
to be a
yes,
doctor or engineer or whatever.
Very important.
It should be what you want to do. And although I said my father was always an army man and things like that, he never forced me to join the army. It was still my choice.
Yes.
And in fact, I had not given any other exam except for the NDA exam.
So you were so sure about it.
I passed, that's a different
Of
matter.
course, but you were so sure
Yeah,
also
that is
that
where
you
I want
didn't
to
give
go.
any other exam.
No medical, no engineering, no, I had not applied to any other college. So you must do what you're passionate about.
Yes.
If you're passionate about your job, you
will do well.
no
Right.
no matter where.
Right. So thank you so much, sir,
Thank
for
you.
sparing your invaluable time today. I know every minute of your time matters, even today. So, as Soulsome will be celebrating 76 years of independence, we just want to tell you on behalf of the entire country that we are so, so proud of our Indian Army. And we also pledge to do whatever is in our capacity to keep your Josh high.
Thank you, Sarika, and thank you to the entire team
Yes,
for
thank you.
having me over.
Thank you.
And it's a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Seva Parmo Dharma is our mantra. We fight as a nation, we win as a nation. Regardless of our religion, we are and will always be first in Indian. Jai Hind. With that, we conclude our show today. Do like, share, subscribe, and comment on YouTube on Soulsome with Sarika, where we bring to you yet another person behind the persona. Till then, take care, guys. Remember, life is short. Live it fully, love unconditionally, and laugh out wholeheartedly. Thank you, and God be with all of us.